Okay, hi. So just before we get settled into the work, I just want to say what's happened for me with this whole cruise ship is understanding just how technical 12th house is, and the absolute practical logistic considerations of 12th house that I have to give completely, absolutely new credit, well, awareness to, and therefore credit to. What I've done, it looks full as it is, but it was actually something of a semi-disaster area, and we arrive at ship shape. The cruise ship needs to be ship shape, and so I've been organizing. This is obviously my pink spider corner. This is my beginning of drawing corner. This is my nerve center. They have already been established as such, but there was a mess. There was a kitchen that needed to be organized, and this is organized, and I've been turning it into a vlog for my Kristen's home cleaning. You can see that the kitchen needs some work, that my landlord never quite finished what he started with me, but they're waiting for me to let them back in. But anyway, I just kind of wanted to show off for a minute because I cleared up. I went in. Everything has been cleaned. Everything here is dusted, swept, washed. Not that I don't clean normally. I'm a cleaner. I do have my cleaning business. But I just wanted to show you that this is, right? I have piles normally on here, and I'm going to be doing a vlog to maintain. Now the bed isn't made because the cat's on it, so I'm not going to show that. But this is where I draw. This is my son's other computer that he built. My sewing stuff, but my tarot, some of my tarot decks up there. My astrology, half of my astrology books are with Leo right now. But this is where I draw and I write, and I got that all together. This lamp is from my client that, if we go back to the whole Poseidon adventure thing, Paul Gallico, he gave me this lamp. And then, so yeah, this is where I get that done. Of course, got all that. The bathroom is under control as always, but still, this is all dusted. This is all dusted. All the little piles have been gathered up. There's another reading table, and I'll just sort of skim over the unmade bed. But over in that corner, that's my little shrine to Gwendolyn McEwen and a few others. There's a Zenaida artist that I love. Her name is Zenaida. I'm going to try and remember. Let's see. Can I get it? Zenaida Shrebry-Yakova. But my Molly Parkins. This is I've got my beading supplies in here for the planet bracelets and stuff like that. So it's all just, and I'm going to do vlogs about cleaning my blinds. I'm going to do just a weekly diary. So ship shape is the theme. In here, lots of stuff in here. My fabrics are in here. I probably don't want to show it off, but again, that's all been organized. Chiffons mostly hanging up there, waiting to be turned into something. But my shrine, my little Ozma of Oz, John R. Neal. Anyway, so I just wanted to give a sense of what I've accomplished, and it's all because of reaching this 12th house. And I've started publishing blogs. I've started keeping, putting content out onto like just doing exactly what we said we needed to be doing right now, which was manifesting and creating. So all my pages are getting content put on them. I've been trying to promote my Redbubble stuff through my designs page, but Facebook is fighting with me over some of the content, saying that it's non-functional, and so I figured out what it was. Normally I don't have a problem with Facebook ads, but anyway, so I just wanted to say that. Let's get back. I finished this up. I won't dwell on it too long because I know we're working on the birth chart, but let's I'm gonna pause and put the camera, well, I gotta bring the bar stool over. So but yeah, ship shape, absolutely. Okay, so let's see, what do I want to say? I just paused. I actually finished uploading the vlog, the video blog to my Deep Breath Books page. So that had been halted for a moment there. My computer shut down. But anyway, Pisces. Notes about Pisces. There were a couple of things. The slow metabolisms. I got that from Roshan Sylvia. The avoiding, like the KRS channel. I gotta go back and find out what his name is. But the accomplishment of all the other lifetimes, the fact that it's all about self, being the spiritual warrior, especially if you have Mars in Pisces, but going within, having yourself reconciled to yourself, basically. It's all the inner work, because the outer has been accomplished. But in terms of being caught in this life, finding your way in this life, then it doesn't happen until you've resolved the inner. Yeah, there are very many interesting points. Natural timekeepers, like natural clocks. What else do I want to say before I set this on fire? Fragility is strength, is a weapon. So, yeah, I went back again, getting it done as opposed to wanting to get it done. There's such a difference between blocking something in and saying, okay, I'm going to go back and I'm going to get the notes on that, and then actually getting the notes. Can't be beat. So, what I got into the other night was going back. I hadn't filled in Jupiter and Neptune co-ruling, and I should flip it around and have it Neptune and Jupiter co-ruling. But the events linked to, it's amazing how much it matters to go and look at these cycles of these planets and what happens in your life in those years, in those times, because absolutely everything is tied to major events in my son's life. Even before I knew I was going to have a son. The fact that my move out to Prince Edward Island, where I became pregnant with him, everything in my 12th house is all about my soul contract with my son. There's no way I'll get my son to acknowledge that. He's a good Libra who doesn't even acknowledge being a Libra, because he's on his own journey. But in terms of, and that's why I'm so heavy into it, is because one of us needs to know. But, yeah, no, he's absolutely everything between, not just Jupiter, not just Neptune, but together, the events are pivotal, so that I find out just how pivotal it was from my life. If I were to have succeeded on any level that would have interfered with me moving out to Prince Edward Island when I moved out there, so that I wouldn't have Alex, so that he wouldn't come through, if anything had interfered with that, anything at all. Oh, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to print up, I wanted to show, oh, I'll get into it next week with the guides. That's right, that's why I don't have it printed up yet. But in terms of guides, in terms of Anne Shirley, totally being an incarnation, a virtual incarnation of Neve, goddess Neve from Ireland. There's a particular card in a Celtic tarot by published by Lo Scarabeo, and she's judgment, the judgment card. Neve is the judgment card, and her husband is the world card. And absolutely what they drew for her is so Anne Shirley from Green Gables that I couldn't ignore it, right? But anyway, and then but no. So again, looking at life in 12th house as being what is outside my, like, how is my personal story connected to somebody else's personal story? How does your life, again, and I wouldn't, so it's so interesting to compare that to the 4th house and the 8th house, where we've come. And the whole, another thing I got into with and I should show this, I'll show it next time. I got into the concept of ballasting, like the when ships, when they're empty, when they lose cargo, yes, when they've delivered cargo, then they need to fill their tanks with a certain amount of seawater in order to stay deep enough in the water, yeah. And again, so I'll just put Poseidon out here as an example. Poseidon, it had dropped all its cargo. It was only passengers, and they decided for speed's sake not to ballast properly, not to load enough seawater into their tanks to weight the ship down enough, and so it listed way too easily, right? And then the wave came. Like, they were already nervous for a while. He researched this. He spent time in the Navy, or he's in the Army, but Paul had firsthand. Even Ernest Borgnine had been on a similar experience, who's in the film. And of course, he's a Freemason. So was Gallico a Freemason? I still haven't found that out yet. But Borgnine was a 33rd degree. And so we have that problem. But no, so it didn't weigh itself down enough. And so for us in our 12th house, a problem that comes, the environmental problem that comes with ballasting, is the dirty seawater that comes in. That a lot of sea life gets pulled into the tanks. So there are a lot of fish, there are a lot of organisms, there's a lot of bacteria, there's all kinds of stuff. There could be COVID, yes. It gets, cholera got carried across the Pacific through ballast water, yes. And so, but all these organisms keep getting moved around the planet to places that they don't come from, that they don't belong to. And you know, huge environmental impacts just from as a byproduct of these ships, what they need to do to perform. And apparently it's been very poorly regulated, of course, but we're talking about the ships that traffic humans, yes? So all things together. But in terms of what it means for us in life, in terms of ballasting our energy, what we take on, yeah, and all the, is it dirty water that we take on? Is it clean water that we lose? Like, what are we doing to weigh us down enough, or to lift us up enough? What's all that energy that we're doing? What are the activities that we're doing? And so when we have the vertical motion of the metabolism of Scorpio and the submarine, and needing to, modulate slow enough so that there isn't too deadly disruption to the body, right? And then we have the lateral, the horizontal of the stability of the 4th house, yes, of the environment, so that you can roll with the waves and not get knocked about too much, right? And now we have the whole internal structure, the coordination, and the what is it, when you compensate, yes, compensatory factors to make sure that you stay in a safe zone, right? Because it's going to be all or nothing. So this is all proving itself so true. I couldn't even dream that it would end up this accurate. And again, so the fact that I know that so much of my 12th house completely lines up with that major life events where I ended up called in to provide something that nobody else was providing, that it should have been somebody else providing, but it wasn't. There was just me. And I needed to be in this place at this time for this to happen, for him to exist. And so if anything else had gone the way I wanted it to go, so if I look back and go, well, okay, so if things had worked out for me that way, I wouldn't have, I wouldn't have gone there. How did it end up that, so then we look at the chain reaction, right, of the fact that, what does it matter that he's born, that I needed to be out there to make sure that he's born, that I needed to read Anne of Green Gables and watch Anne of Green Gables, so that my mom needed to make sure that she got me onto Anne of Green Gables, and she needed to need it badly enough. She needed to like it enough, and then I needed to be born at a time where the major motion picture version with Megan Follows was made, so that it would be the boom, you know. Then to make sure that Lucy Maud writes the book. Now, she didn't particularly identify with Anne of Green Gables, with Anne Shirley as the character. She identified more with Emily, her character Emily of New Moon. So we could easily look at that as being, she sort of channeled the story. And then what becomes of that, and her granddaughter, I don't want to get my ass suit off, but her granddaughter's been really going to town with the whole estate, and making very much head over heart decisions. Not that we don't need to make head over heart decisions, but really there's just some stuff there that, again, if I say too much, she'll just sue my ass off. So she likes to do that. But again, so what, and the fact that it's such a colonial work, it's so, there's not one Mi'kmaq in any of the Anne stories, right? So that I can recall, certainly not in the, you know, and so it's just, what is this ongoing narrative? And if it leads back to Niamh, if it leads back to this story even of Niamh, is Niamh real? Or, you know, what's the deal with Niamh, this goddess from Ireland, but that looks, you know, what is this chain? What is this chain? And so, because one thing needed to happen for another thing to happen, and it's the bigger picture. They said, look at the bigger picture. In the predictions for the month, they said, look at the bigger picture. And that's what we're doing. We're looking at the bigger picture. So, I guess what I should do is I should pause and get the tarot cards out, because I normally do. But, we know how to look at tarot. I'll pull out the cards for the 12th house tarot card. Sorry, I knocked the camera, so the frame might be slightly different. And so, because then once I realized, well, yeah, no, it doesn't look like there's a tremendous amount of personal success for me in 12th house, because all of my activities in my whole chart have to ensure that this person gets born. And then that he does what he's supposed to be doing, that I don't get in the way of what he's supposed to be doing, and that I don't let others get in the way of, you know, like, as best I can, follow his lead, follow all the signals, and make sure. And that's just how important it is, and everything else. And therefore, obviously, happily, willingly, then it's like, well, yeah, no, how could I want it to be any other way if it was going to interfere with that? Now, I did notice, to my horror, a correction that needs to be made. Just technically, it says house number 4 and it should say house number 12. So I think we should just burn the books at this point and scrap the whole plan. That's how I feel about that. But anyway, yes, I find here in this page where we get into where your house number 12 is, and which constellations, and whether they're cardinal, fixed, or mutable, and which houses they rule, the constellations that your 12th house is in. What houses do they rule, and where are their ruling planets, in which constellations? And that's where I find all of my work. I find my work because of those. I've been able to pinpoint. I've got this too high up, you can't see it. I've been able to pinpoint all my different businesses connecting to the ruling planets of the houses of the constellations that my 12th house is in. So once we take this all together with the water, with the whole water story, and we arrive at what gifts, this is where we arrive at the 6 of gifts that have been given to you, and we will end with the gifts that you're going to give the world in your fire story. It is just as I'm so amazed at how this format has played out. So yeah, I'll pause, and I will get the cards out, and we will just take a quick look at the tarot cards of the 12th house. Okay, so obviously, now obviously I realize she's not. She's the moon. But she's going to completely have have everything to do, because in tarot the moon is a Pisces card. Of course there's a connection here, so this is going to completely connect to your Lilith placement, your nodal placements, yes, especially since North Node is a Pisces, is the Ten of Cups, is the Pisces card. North Node for anybody is the Ten of Cups. And it goes without saying then, and I went, of course, I thought I was being so clever, but the Chariot, I'm just grabbing the Chariot, which is Cancerian, I realize, but like I said, because it's so much movement and it's water movement, that I put it with all water houses. Yes, primarily, of course, Cancerian, but it's another card that's gonna, this balance, and you can see the Chariot as a ship, yes, and the balance that's required, that exactly, we come back to that ballast, the balance. And I've looked up how different ships ballast, and some, like passenger ships, I believe, will ballast in the front and the back, the fore and the aft, right? Whereas other ships will actually ballast along the bottom and along the sides. So there are different, depending on the size and the purpose of the ship, right? So what kind of ship? But again, so if we consider ourselves as a cruise ship, the front and the back. And yeah, absolutely. I'm so glad I pulled this card out to make me think of that, because the Chariot can't move without balance, right? It's going to go, it's going to just list, it's going to veer, and it's going to crash. And so absolutely this water energy. But why the water energy? I mean, because obviously any deck, any suit is going to have movement. So why put this with the water? I mean, a Chariot doesn't go through water, it goes on land. So it's one of those areas where it's like, okay, so what's the hidden point that they're not making that we need to find out? So, okay, so we have the moon just straight up as a Pisces card. With this is my happy card. This is my sun card. And we've got safe passage and protection and things that are, you know, safe to say. Other people will, I mean, obviously there are other, there's the original interpretation or meaning of the card, but then there's, you know, you dig through this, you dig through the secrets, you dig through the truth, or what you don't know about the truth, until you find out that it's like, well, okay, ultimately, psychologically, it represents this, and not to mention magically and spiritually. So you have, what does that mean in terms of how technical this house can be? This is all about timing. Again, Roshan Sylvia makes the note, and I can easily say the Pisces in my life have been like human watches, human clocks. Absolutely. There's just this uncanny, especially the one in particular that I spent a very intense 3.5, 4 years with. Absolutely. Sometimes all he was about was watching the time, but to know it is just, yeah. So timing, and then of course Neptune and Jupiter. So the Hanged Man, the forced change of perspective. So again, when I look at the 12th house and I realize that it's all about me fulfilling my part in time to make sure that my son comes through at the right time. What's he going to do? So how does your story ensure somebody else's story? And to what end? To what purpose? What are we doing here? What is this for of stability? What is this whole journey? What's this fight? What's this battle? And so, again, just even analyzing 12th house is a Hanged Man experience. And then Jupiter with the world, the turning of the wheel, not the world, the wheel, the turning of the wheel, the Jupiter cycle, right? And what your cycles are, what your Jupiter, what happened in your Jupiter cycles, what happens in your Neptune cycles. How many turns of the wheel does it take in your chart to arrive at a certain level? How many turns of the wheel in your chart do you need to get to King and Queen energy of Cups, right? Because I put the King and Queen energy in 12th house because you do need mastermind thinking in 12th house concerns. It's just, when you're a page or you're a knight in 12th house, then, you know, it's going to take a while longer to get a grasp of your 12th house. So what are you in when you're, where does your 12th house fall? And what energy are you in when you're in 12th house collectively, with the collective, right? Where are your King and Queen of Cups energy? And then of course the 8, 9, 10 of Cups. The 8, I mean, obviously another safe passage card with the moon, but also an 8 for me is proving yourself to yourself, psychically, emotionally, lovingly, right? Soulfully, okay? That's what the 8 is for me. And the 9, of course, we have wish fulfillment here, and be careful of what you wish for, but you have the proving yourself to everyone else. For me is a 9. Proving yourself to everyone else. Proving, being completely in touch, yes, with guides, with ancestors, knowing who's who, yeah, and working on that, being committed to the work and the transformation, which is incredibly, because Pisces is every sign, we're not just talking creative work. This is another hangman moment I have to express, that I realize, like, my 12th house is heavily in Libra and Scorpio. My 12th house is all about legal work and the technical aspects of ensuring the creative work gets done and pushed out. So my 12th house has blindsided me. I love that I'm doing it out of season with all this, so that 4th house hit me, 12th house hits me. I guess 8th house started off a little smoother. But yeah, my 12th house has everything to do with, I just finished another document that I sent off to confront the Northern Ireland housing executive, Brian O'Kane, and then that got forwarded to a high court judge. The puppy that I needed, took me almost a week to get rescued. What else? There have been a couple of cases that came through in Pink Spider that needed some input from, or, you know, where, yeah, it did need some input from me on legal issues, on high stress issues that involve gang stalking and domestic abuse. Courts, again, so, you know, don't underestimate. Pisces is every sign, is every house. So you're going to go through, and I have a Pisces mind and imagination, right? So this is why I like to understand and look at everything from everybody's point of view, every sign's point of view. I don't want to be hard on any one particular sign for anything, because we're all those signs to some extent. And then of course you have the completion, the 10 of Cups, the absolute happiness, but the North Node, the opportunity to get somewhere. And so, and other people have other definitions for it, but that's my shorthand for it. And those cycles tied to, like, the North Node has its own cycles, years, like, and again, this was completely the time when I went off to Prince Edward Island. Well, not the first time, but when I moved there. And that's how I had my kid. So my kid is not attached to 5th house placements. My kid is attached to 12th house placements. That's where I find the story of me and my kid, who is now 21. He's in an Uranus cycle right now. But yeah, so those are, I won't get my cards out for my 12th houses. I think it's more important just for now to focus on these cards, your cards. So if you have a tarot deck, I hope you do. I hope you have many of them. And you can pull out, and you, depending on if you want to classify, now I remember I classify air as, the cardinal air for me is Gemini, and cardinal earth for me is Taurus. So it follows numerically from there for me. But then you get all that extra insight in terms of layering your cards with these cards. I could by example, but if you go back to I do it for 8th house and 4th house. I just don't want to take up your time right now by doing it for me, but Yeah, if you want any help, just drop a comment and let me know what houses you have in your 12th house, in Pisces, in the constellation and the sign combined, and then where your 12th house is, and I can help you out with the tarot cards for that. But you're pretty smart, and I'm sure you can figure it out. And I think that's about it. Any events? Were there any events astrologically? I'm still waiting for the sun really to leave Taurus and hit Gemini. That's what I'm waiting for. Man, there's too much here. Where did it all go? I don't know. I won't make us wait for it now. But yeah, that's I do believe the sun. I'll check next week. It might just be leaving Taurus now. I don't know that it for sure has yet though. But anyway, that's us. That's us. That's us for now. But really exciting stuff. So back to the ballasting, if you want to look into that. And I did look into Yemoya. And I'll get some stuff on her. But for the House of Guides, again, further to Oshun, and yes, Nigeria and the Yoruba religion that brings us Yemaya and Oshun, the Orisha. So I'll bring all that next time. All right. Much love and good luck with your ship. If you want any inspiration, if you go to Kristen's Home Cleaning, you'll see my video tour of my place beyond. Beyond what I did for. Sorry, camera cut out. Beyond what I did at the beginning of this one, but the beginning of this might be more than enough to get you inspired. But I will be posting either at least weekly or more often than weekly videos there about how to stay on top of and maintain, a clean ship, shall we say, and optimize it for what you need. And so just like it's been working for this to do the weekly videos, even if they're coming a bit late. I took a little extra rest time because of doing the evidence work, the research and the evidence work for the case up in Belfast. But and again, family ties to Belfast. My great-great-great-grandfather rode the White Stallion in the Orange State Parades, and I've had dreams that led me to Belfast. There's just a bunch of ancestors working there. And I had another altercation with ancestors up from a certain part of town over here. And yeah, so I think it's going to be a very interesting post about the guides. But then, why wouldn't it be? Okay, now I will shut up. Much love. Take good care. Good luck with your ship. And I'm really fascinated to learn about other people's 12th houses now. This is just not what I expected, and I thought I was pretty smart about Pisces. Until next week.